Welcome to the Legacy Angel Network Venture Lounge, where nothing ventured is nothing changed. For Matt Helmenthaler, press 1. For member services, press 2. For real raw startup stories, press 3. For all other questions or concerns, please wait on the line in our
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Helmenthaler, and you're listening to Venture Lounge, after-hour conversations with founders and investors. These are the stories, insights, and conversations that you aren't going to find on the company website. Because the real lessons you learn in the startup world, the risks you take as an entrepreneur, the highs and the lows, the moments in your journey when no one else believes in you right before you break through, those are the moments that you just have to hear for yourself. So grab a drink and listen in to the men and women who are changing the world. Welcome to the Venture Lounge. Yeah, feel free to come sit up here. You can sit in the back over there. Just grab a seat. Be comfortable. But yeah, the way that we're gonna do this tonight is I'm gonna ask some questions. You guys know how we like to do these interviews and make our guests, really uncomfortable. And I'm just kidding. No. But we like to kind of get to know them a little bit, and then we get into the more professional questions, and then at the end of the presentation, you guys will be able to ask all the questions you want, and that's it. Does that sound good? Yeah. All right.
Ready to go?
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, so I have some questions for you before you get in on into your presentation.
Bring it on. Get me as uncomfortable as you want to make.
Well, here, you got to sit here to do it. You got to sit here to do it.
All right, here we go. Starting already.
Yeah. I'm very demanding. I'm very demanding. All right. So, first, being into the fashion industry, right, which you obviously represent all of these brands. Do you like my sneakers? That's one of the.
Those are cool kicks.
Okay, thank you.
I
want to make sure I'm on. Okay.
So in a prior life, I was the CEO of Athlete's Foot. We were the number 3 athletic footwear retailer.
Oh wow.
Those are cool kicks.
Nice, thank you. All right, I got game, guys. That's just why I just want to make sure everyone knows that. All right, cool. So what inspired you into really the world of fashion, consumer brands? Like, how did all of this happen?
So if you would have asked me when I was doing my undergraduate work if I would be in the consumer sector, the answer would have been no, because I started as a computer science and accounting and finance major at a business school, went to Deloitte and then went to Wall Street, and never imagined that I would be in the consumer space. But when the first mortgage-backed security happened, we looked at it and said, wow, what an interesting concept. Maybe there were other asset classes. And we started looking at what would be a fun asset class. And we came up with this idea to underwrite bonds backed by intellectual property cash flows. So musical copyrights, film copyrights, and we became an industry leader in doing that. And somewhere around 2000, I got a call from a guy named Bill Blass, who was a very famous fashion designer. And he said, I hear you're that guy that does all these music bond deals. I said, yeah. He said, can you do that for a trademark? And I said, I don't know. Trademarks are not like copyrights. Mm-hmm. And it's a little harder to realize licensing revenue. If you don't know this in the music industry, the guys that make a lot of money are the guys that write really good songs, particularly the standards. It's just a gift that keeps giving, so to speak. And I said, I don't know your business, but I'll come down and take a look. So I went down to see it, and he shows me every year, 8 million, year after year of licensing revenue from men's, and he had some kind of deal with Lincoln, the car company, and all kinds of licensing revenue. And I said, well, this is intriguing. Let me really dig into it. And back then, it was all quants, guys. We did deep dives into predicting those income streams. Mm. And we spent a lot of time. Seth was literally with me then. Seth's been doing this with me for 22 years. My CFO was head of credit at that time. He's been with me for 32 years. And we did the deep dive, and we said, this is doable. And it was the first trademark bond deal that was ever done. And we were able to get those bonds to BBB without a credit enhancement. And we were basically taking the airball that the asset-based lenders had no interest in. But the real value was in the trademark. Because think about, what is Coke? Anyone can make that sweet carbonated soda. It's the brand that's worth everything at the end of the day. And around 2001, there was severe disruption happening in the consumer sector. And what was happening is retail was consolidating, and the power shifted from the manufacturers and the brands to the retailers. And retailers started this concept of guaranteed margins and chargebacks. So if you don't know this, basically to go into Macy's and sell, you sign an agreement where you guarantee them a 42% margin, regardless of where they sell it. And it's a game of averaging, because you start out with more margin, and then as they mark down, you start to owe them money. And hopefully you move the product fast enough where you actually make some money as a wholesaler. It's very challenging. So I looked at that and said, wow, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Because what was happening is everyone was outsourcing their production. So no one owned a factory. They were basically acting as agents for factories, selling with their brands, but taking principal risk on the inventory. So we looked at that and said, there has to be a better way of doing this. And we came up with this idea to do a roll-up, buy a lot of companies that were really upside down because they were losing money in their supply chain businesses, and license those brands directly to big box retailers. Take everyone out of the middle, which is what the retailers wanted, and then go underwrite bonds based on the credit of those retailers. And they were all BBB or better. So we recapped a company called Candy's Shoes. It was really broken. And I sat down with the CEO and said, this is what I want to do. I need a public vehicle. Don't worry about the capital. We'll get all the capital that you need. It comes from insurance companies. And at that time, we were in a joint venture with Prudential. We could underwrite it as long as we got a BBB rating. We could take it on our own warehouse line. And we have a lot of companies like yours that are in trouble, and we're going to put them all in here, and we're going to go and make these big box deals. That company turned into Iconics Brand Group.
Oh, wow.
Iconics was one of the largest brand management companies in the country. We took the market cap from 30 million to about $1.2 billion. And in 2006, we exited. And when I left there, I cautioned the board. I said, guys, everyone knows what we just did. And the market cap of this business was going up 100 million per quarter. The CEO was like, what the hell? What's going on here? Because the spreads were tremendous. We were running models. The return on equity, I think the worst deal we did was 250%. Because we were buying at 3x and we were trading at 8. So it was just incredible accretion on each deal. And the margin in a true licensing business is about 70% drops to the bottom line. So when others saw this, there were a lot of apostles that came out of Iconics. So Billy Sweedler was the second acquisition we did. We bought his father's company, Joe Boxer. Bill left, he formed Sequential. Yehuda Shidman, who was one of the first guys we hired, he's now running WHP. And they're all brand management companies. But the caution that I gave the board is I said, this is a bit of a treadmill. Because when you think about copyrights, when you buy a musical copyright or a film copyright, over time, there's a declination curve. That income stream goes down unless something happens. In the music business, it's called sync revenue. Someone needs it. Microsoft decides they need Start Me Up. Well, you're going to get a big hit that year. But most things don't do that. So we built a model based on a declining income stream. And I told Neil Cole at that time, don't invest in them. This is planned obsolescence, but you have to keep buying, like music companies do and like film studios do. They build libraries. But at some point, it's going to become more challenging because we're paying 3x for these income streams now, but when people see this, it's going to go to 5, it's going to go to 6, it's going to go to 8, and that's where it went. And that's why a lot of the licensing companies blew up. And we tried this not only with trademark licensing, we did a roll-up of franchise companies because there we realized, well, you can have a very granular income stream. So in 9 months, we acquired 7 franchises, 1,900 stores, 48 countries. Hundreds, thousands of income streams. So you run your Monte Carlo analysis, what could go wrong? 2008 happened. And we had to deal with that. It was the worst 2 years of my life. And when we got about a year and a half through, Seth stayed in to finish it, and we started this. And what was happening at that moment, and I tell this story often, I was at a conference around that time, and I was sitting with a bunch of Wall Street guys that were rulers of the universe, and some analysts, and there was a guy up giving a presentation about e-commerce. And everyone at that table was saying, this guy is an idiot. This will never work. This is not a sustainable business model. Seth was telling me, yeah, I was running models at Wharton School, and we came to the conclusion that e-commerce will never work. That idiot that was presenting that day with a company with a $10 stock was Jeff Bezos. This is a true story.
He's such a moron.
No, you can't. you can't make this stuff up. So
you're not. If you're watching, he's not watching.
So I see this, and I'm hearing about this new thing, social media, that no one really knew anything about. It was just beginning to happen. Facebook wasn't formed, and I can't remember the name of that first. MySpace.
Yep.
And we didn't know what to think of it, but I said, guys, it's all the same senior management team. We all got in the room and I said, something's going on here. This e-commerce thing, this is going to be very disruptive when they figure it out. And the social media thing, this is scary. This is going to change everything. Life as we know it, and it's going to change everything we ever learned about marketing. So we're going to form a company, and think about this, because 13 years ago when I told people this, they didn't even know what we were talking about. We said we're going to reimagine shopping, entertainment, and social media as one thing. And we've never deviated from that. And we said we're going to go and really look at what's going on in direct response television, because these guys, they're kind of, it's a new thing, but it's not, but it's going to change. But we can learn a lot here. So fast forward 10 years, 11 years, we are the largest global player in interactive television. Last year we passed $4 billion in sales on QVC from our brands. We have the #1 show on QVC, the #3 show, the #1 show on HSN, and the #1 show on Jewelry TV. 20,000 hours of programming time. We know how to make content that works, and we know how to create the calls to action.
Do you ever wish that you were more organized or better at your job? I'm just kidding. No. I mean, that's amazing. That's absolutely awesome.
Well, I can tell you, I have a 28-year-old and a 27-year-old that keep trying to convince me, Dad, you're not cool.
Oh, no.
I think finally they realize maybe I'm smart, but not cool.
Everybody in my life, they tell me the same thing. So, so you guys been going down the path for quite some time. It looks like you were like 15 years old when you were working for him. Like you haven't, I don't know, like, I mean, clearly you're not now, but okay. But in my experience, especially when you're going through a crisis like 2008, there has to be some level of good leadership to pull through that and to have people who stick with you. So just in that vein, like what's been your approach to leadership as you're leading this company?
So, two things. One, I've never come to work thinking that people need to work. I approach it as though they should want to come to work. Everyone will tell you about me. I am cool. I am calm. I never lose it with people. I don't believe that's good behavior. I don't tolerate it. There are times that you have to motivate people, but I don't believe you need to do that through force, so to speak. And that keeps people around because life's too short. And I have always felt, and everyone will tell you this about me, innovation, and I was having a conversation earlier here tonight, innovation has a price. And the price for innovation is change and risk. And if you're not prepared to accept those two things, then probably we're not the kind of company to come to, because we do innovate, we do take risks. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. The key is don't bet the house. And you can see there are so many case studies out there, examples, someone in the consumer space that was a smart guy. Ron Johnson went to JCP. I don't think what Ron was saying or what he wanted to do was wrong. It's just the speed at which he did it, and he failed to test. So he alienated an incredible customer base because he moved it too fast. And the analogy for that is if you had a pile of gunpowder and you're on a battleship and there's another battleship across from you, do you take a few rifle shots to calibrate, or do you just take that one first shot? Well, that's what he did. So we try not to do that, but we know that we have to innovate because we're living in an industry that has been changing on the dime for the last 10 years, and now we're all facing something that's going to accelerate the rate of change 100x, and it's AI.
Right.
And I don't think anyone in the consumer space or the media space should be creators of AI. We're not technology people. We need to be appliers of AI. We have to know what these things can do and how to make our businesses better and faster.
Right.
And the media industry is changing dramatically. What's happening now is content itself is changing from episodic content to short form video content. Shopping through video commerce is changing because one of the challenges that our great partner QVC has, and JTV and others that are legacy media companies, is their distribution channels are shrinking as people cut cable and move to streaming. So, well, how do you keep things up and to the right when your distribution is shrinking every day, and now your audience, including older people, don't have the attention span to sit there for 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And it's all changing. And someone asked me, I was invited to speak out at JTV a couple of weeks ago to their senior management team. They said, well, when did all of this start? And I said, I have thought about that. And we've all been trained since 1982 when MTV launched. Because I was out at a dinner party and a friend of mine said, I just started this company called MTV, and He said, I'm the fifth guy there. And I said, what are you doing? You're going to show music videos on television? Like, this is... I hope it works out for you, because I thought it was not smart. Well, I missed that one. It was brilliant. And what happened? We all got trained. Radio was dead. And people just started watching these short things. And then it turned into... MTV was sort of the first MCN. You know, if you follow Awesomeness TV and what's happening on YouTube, one of my board members was the CEO of Awesomeness. And he called me. I wasn't friends with him then. He said, hey, this is crazy. We have these YouTube channels. We have nothing less than 50 million followers behind 4 great influencers, and we're embedding product, but we can't convert. Can you come out to DreamWorks and tell me what the hell we're missing here? So we went and we looked, and they were marketing basically to Gen Z, but Gen Z was 12 then. Mom controlled the checkbook. And the other problem they were having is supply chains weren't fast enough. So by the time they actually got the product, because the lead time, especially in apparel, unless you're doing blank t-shirts and you're printing them, it's 9 months. The supply chain's 20 hours flying distance away. It's not that easy. So they couldn't get it to work. So all of this is changing around us and evolving. And 3 years ago, we saw something, and this is really what we're here to talk about, because we have a good legacy business, and we're going to take you through it, because we had another event that was like 2008 that hit our industry hard. COVID was devastating. We had licensees fail, really smart people, just literally implode, liquidate, or discontinued operations. Television was doing well because everyone was home, but bricks and mortar, if you weren't selling essential retailers, it was a tough time. And the key is, how do you navigate out of that, which we did. So we have a great core business, which is really focused on video commerce over television, but we saw something happening in Asia 3 years ago. And what was going on there is short form video sales began to disrupt e-commerce the way e-commerce disrupted bricks and mortar here. And one of my board members was head of the think tank for Li and Fung. They're one of the large global sourcing companies, and she's an industry thought leader. And we started looking at why was this working in Asia? What was going on? Well, the big tech companies built the end-to-end tech ecosystem to facilitate someone literally with an iPhone from any location to get a product, create attribution to that product, create attribution to them so they could sell and get paid for doing this. Well, what a great idea. So we're going to show you a video that TikTok just released, because last year, this industry there did 700 billion US, and it's 25% of e-commerce today. We'll show you this before we get into the PowerPoints. TikTok just released this.
Video or sound?
Let me show you why. Most of big shopping malls in China are quite empty, but where do people really go for shopping? When I was window shopping, I realized that most of the shopkeepers were selling their products online through live stream. Live stream shopping first originated in China and now has over 524 million live streamers and generated an estimated amount of 700 billion USD only in 2023. Using virtual live streamers is a way for retailers to differentiate themselves from others, as well as reduce the cost of hiring a famous influencer. Real-time interaction between buyers and sellers, Q&A sessions, immediate feedback, bargains, and deep discounts is what makes this new marketing technique quite popular among the chain's customers. Welcome to the future of e-commerce, everyone.
This is coming, guys. That's why TikTok is here, and that's why they hitched their wagon to Shein. This is coming like a very big freight train. And no one here has built this end-to-end tech solution because the social media platforms, their revenue model is ad dollars. So why would they want to shift the marketing money to people? It's very disruptive to them. They sort of have the problem that legacy media companies have. You think the guys at Liberty Media don't see this? It's Liberty Media. It's not just Curate and QVC. Their problem is they have 11 million active customers. They're in 100 million households. How do they shift that? And they're tied into long-term cable contracts. So how do you make that pivot? And the social media firms are going to be dealing with this to some extent. You know, Bezos said a year ago, something's coming that's going to disrupt the hell out of Amazon. I just don't know what it is. He's warning people. He knows what it is. It's this. It's TikTok and Shein coming. So we saw all of this happening and we said, okay, we need to go to work. So we went to a tech company here in the US and it was a guy that started Bluefly. He was the former CEO of Rakuten and real affiliate guy. So he had this affiliate software and we sat down with him. We said, hey, we want to modify this. This is what I want to do. And the cost was just like spiraling out of control. Doing it here, too slow, couldn't turn things around. And we decided there's a better way to do this. And I was in the Hamptons at a party at someone's house, and he's a brilliant engineer. He's one of the largest producers of denim on earth. He's also one of the largest recyclers of cotton. But he brought the internet to Pakistan. And I've described to him what I wanted to do. And he said, if you tell me what it needs to do, I'll build a team of 100 coders and engineers, and I'll do it at a tenth of the cost in Pakistan, because a world-class coder there is $25,000 per year. Here it's $250. And we started. And it was about 2.5 years ago, and every night on the phone, because we had a time difference, weekends, and we gave them the architecture for what it had to do, because it's hard for a person that is a technology person to understand what the video commerce business needs to do. And we gave that to them. We're not tech people. Now, over the last 2.5 years, I learned more about tech than I thought I would learn, because I had to really understand, how does this thing really work? What could cause a problem? So we built it, and we're going to be the first short-form video marketplace to launch, a true marketplace. Because there are companies out there that have video technology like Bambowser and others like them, but it's only the video piece. They have no attribution engines. They have no AI engines to really make it work. And then there are some companies out there that are early stage that we like. We think they're doing a pretty good job. There's a company called Flip. Take a look at it. And they're focused on beauty primarily. Slightly different model, different ways of creating attribution, not as transparent to users as they should be. But still, you know, how do you describe success? They're hemorrhaging cash, but they have an insane valuation. So maybe they have something right. There's another company called Whatnot. It was a guy in his basement on an iPhone selling Pokemon cards. It's insane. And this thing is worth hundreds of millions today. Not making real money, but he sells collectible things. And he has a great following. He was able to get a lot of people on to use the app. We believe niches will win. Amazon will figure this out. They're going to be a multi-category retailer, and they will do this. But when you think about the media business, what is the success of Discovery? Discovery is not reality TV, it's real TV. And they built communities around likeness. HDTV, the Food Network. We believe this is a combination of media, because it's social media, and commerce. And we believe that there will be successful players in the niches, and then there's going to be TikTok doing what it does. It is laser focused on Gen Z. We have not played there by design. ORME will be focused on better brands, higher price points, because we know everyone in the industry, and laser focused on the millennial, Gen X, and the boomer. So it's how you approach this. So there will be some legacy retailers that pivot, embrace this, and do it. Because think about it. What's happening in Asia, you heard what that young lady said. It's shopkeepers doing it from their shops. Well, imagine a retailer, because we're talking to some of the bigger ones like Signet. They own all the jewelry brands, Jared and Zales, and thousands of stores, 5,000, 6,000 salespeople. And these are real salespeople that have relationships with people, because the jewelry business is based on trust. Imagine if they all live stream from their store. A new stone comes in and they're doing it. And they could actually earn money doing it. So there will be some retailers that embrace this, but it's going to take them time, because they all have legacy systems, and it's hard for them to get something with this kind of tech implemented quickly. So
that's awesome, man.
That's what we're here to talk about, real high level.
Yeah.
And I can take you through our story. We, from the beginning, followed an asset-light business model. We don't want to own inventory. Inventory comes with a lot of risk. Now, there are a lot of wholesalers that would disagree. They're wholesalers to their core, and that's what they believe. In the fashion industry, it's really tough today, because we just did a mega deal with G3 Apparel Group. They're the General Motors of women's apparel in the industry. Their CEO said, "It's getting tough, Bob." And they had for many years Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, all the big brands, Donna Karan. It's tough for them. Why? Distribution is shrinking. Macy's just announced another 150 doors are closing. So Macy's is down from 1,100 doors now to 400, down another 150. When is that going to stop? It's a matter of time before Kohl's starts closing doors. It's very challenging in that sector at the moment. So we, like everyone in this industry, in 2019, 2 of our key licensees failed. The group that was manufacturing and distributing Halston for us literally imploded in 90 days, went into liquidation. And there's a time to make great licensing deals in an industry. And 2019 was not the time to do that. So we had to think about, what are we going to do to keep top line sales going, even though we probably couldn't make money if we had to step in and take over. And at the same time, we were in business with a Thailand-based fine jewelry manufacturer. If you don't know this, a good portion of the world's fine jewelry today is made in Thailand. And they discontinued US operations. So suddenly, here we are with one of the largest fine jewelry brands, Judith Ripka, which I'll talk about, and Halston, and the licensing partners are out. So we had to make a choice, and we had to do it fast. So I said, okay, guys, no problem. This is not rocket science. If we have to step in to save these brands, we will do it. That's the difference between us and, say, WHP. They can't. They don't know how to do it. So we hired all the people, sourcing people, logistics people, despite everything I've been preaching for 30 years. We just did what we had to do. And invested in ERP systems, PLM systems, warehouse management systems, opened up 3PLs, and went in. 90 days after we do it, COVID hit. And it was a tough time. And it was interesting. You'll see in the numbers in 20, we were able to actually make money. But what happened to us is we were printing 9 to 10 million per year with no risk of free cash flow. And we were happy. We're a public company, but we own 65% of it. So we were all very happy with this and killing it on QVC, taking zero inventory risk anywhere, dropping a lot to the bottom line. And everything's going nicely. We had a good year here, 20 hits. And you'll see it in top line retail sales of our brands. But we were able to make money. But 21 came, and we lost money for the first time. And we didn't lose money because we weren't selling. Top line sales at retail were still improving of our brands. 40% increased cost in logistics, and every retailer we sold canceling orders. They were using us to manage their inventory, and in many cases, they were canceling orders against hard POs with goods on the water. So the goods land in LA, now we have the goods. And there's only one place to go, and that's to the off-price guys, but even they were closed. But they were smart. They were buying goods and warehousing it, but their offers weren't really good. So we really got hurt coming into 2021. 22 looks like we imploded, but that's not what happened. In 22, in Q1, the guys from WHP came and gave us an unsolicited offer to buy a 70% interest in our Isaac Mizrahi brand. Why did they want it? They had to get to 100 million of EBITDA in their business, and they needed the 16 million of royalties we were generating and the $9 million EBITDA contribution. So they paid up full for it. 6 times royalties, 8 times EBITDA contribution in a horrific environment. And we took the deal. We delevered the company because we acquired 7 brands.
Nice of you.
Yeah. And so we took the company down to 0 debt, and that came out of our numbers. So it looks like we blew up, but we didn't, because the balance sheet became pristine. Wow. Coming into 23, we saw a couple of opportunities. So one, we said, okay, we've done a good job. Let's go to the sales chart. So this is retail sales of our brand. This is your leading indicator. How much are the consumers buying? So we were in a really good place coming into 23 in sales, but we couldn't make money doing it. We didn't have enough scale as a wholesaler. Jewelry TV, they needed an anchor brand. Judith Ripka, our fine jewelry brand, sold $1 billion in product on QVC. QVC 5 years ago started exiting jewelry as a category. Good news is they leaned into apparel, and we were there for that. We acquired Judith Ripka at their request. So they guaranteed us royalties, but after that 5-year contract was over and they were exiting jewelry, we had to do something. Jewelry TV needed that anchor brand for television, and we made a master license deal with them. At the same time, G3, that had a 20-year license for all women's apparel for Calvin Klein and a 20-year license for all women's for Tommy Hilfiger, lost their licenses. PVH didn't renew. That created a multi-billion-dollar hole in their business. There's only one natural replacement for Calvin. It's Halston, because Calvin was a cheap knockoff of Halston. That's how Calvin was born. And Halston refused to get into the denim business, and Calvin just ran with it. And that was what Calvin was built on. Calvin was built on underwear and denim pants, and Ralph Lauren was built on the polo shirt. It only takes one rocket like that in the apparel business. And we went to see G3 and we said, guys, why don't you take Halston? And they said, well, we want to buy it. And we said, no, we don't want to sell it to you. Let's do a 25-year master license and give us all the real estate that Calvin was in. And at the end, you can have it. Just pay us some nominal amount, but we want fixed $8 million per year when you hit stabilized sales. So when they acquired it, they announced that they would do $250 million in wholesale in shoes, bags, and apparel by year 3. Their last earnings call, they said we underestimated it. It'll be $500 million. And we're going to do $20 million in licensing income, because now they have the master license, which implies another $500 million of wholesale. So we should be able to get to $8 million of stabilized royalties. It's $160 to $180 million of royalty income, 95% of which drops to our bottom line over the next 25 years. We have a similar situation with Ripka. And the last piece that we had to get rid of or outsource in terms of wholesale production, we went to HSN, which is a sister company to QVC under Curate. And they said to us, we need you to do in apparel what you did at the Q. Because my junior buyer, 13 years ago, when we started with Isaac there, is now the chief merchant at HSN. So she said, you guys need to come and do it. So we said, okay, take our C. Wonder brand. We'll get Christian Siriano as the creative director. If you don't know Christian, he's the star of Project Runway. He has 5 million followers. 2 weeks ago, we won Rising Star Vendor of the Year. It's now their #1 show. We did 13 million top line in 9 months there on the launch. 26 million planned this year, 50 million next year, which puts it in the #1 slot. Christian's been interesting to work with. Talent is always fun. It's you need to be more than a shrink sometimes, guys.
See, we want to hear more about that.
No, it's I've had some interesting moments. You have to stay calm. Yeah. That's a real test of patience. But we love them because they're really great at what they do. Yeah. Isaac, every single Isaac show, 1 million women tune in. He has the #1 show in audience share and in volume. Christian is like that. And Christian's backup is Ken Downing, who was the creative director of Neiman Marcus for 18 years. And Ken is magical, because he was the guy that did all the trunk shows at Neiman. He's just, women, whatever he says, they seem to think that that's gospel in fashion, because he's so convincing. So the core business today is in good shape. We went through a restructure in Q1 of 23. We cut 13 million of overhead, realized by the end of the quarter. And in Q2, 3, and 4, we cut another million. And last week, we finished, because we had to go into 30,000 feet to accommodate all these wholesale people. In a really difficult real estate market in Manhattan, we've managed to sublease the space and move into a new space that is 12,000 feet and has a state-of-the-art live stream studio in it, because we're anticipating we're going to need it for ORME. So we have a stable and growing core business with our brands. If we flip to the brands, we'll give you an overview of the brands. So today, we own Judith Repka. Judith Repka lifetime sales are $2 billion. This is one of the largest fine jewelry companies in America. Today, it is an exclusive that we have with Jewelry TV, which is an interesting company. If you guys don't know them, look at them. It's the best run company I've seen that no one seems to know about. They do about $500 million per year, very profitably. And they took over the e-commerce, the wholesale business, and the television business. So we're very excited about being in business with them. Logo by Lori Goldstein. Lori is probably one of the most iconic stylists. She's done every cover of every magazine with every supermodel that you can think of for every great European brand. 13 years ago, when we started with Isaac, Lori and Isaac were always kind of nipping at each other's heels for the #1 position. We acquired her business about 21. And she has the #3 show. It does about $100 million per year on QVC. Halston, of course, is the iconic American brand. When the Netflix series hit, it was like that lightning in the bottle. It was like getting the call from Microsoft. We couldn't believe what was happening because the phone started ringing from all the retailers, because Halston was introduced to a whole new generation. And that gave us the confidence to make the run at it. And of course, we made that deal last year with G3 for Halston. So timing was right. And when we bought Halston, the whole strategy, it sounds crazy, was let's fix this thing up and get it to G3, because they're the only ones that can scale something to $1 billion in today's environment. Isaac is, he's an interesting creative force. Isaac is probably one of the greatest creative geniuses. He's a playwright, he's a musician, he's an entertainer, and he's a brilliant designer. And Isaac, because he was hooked on his couture business, when we met Isaac, he was just hemorrhaging cash. And we saved the company, we kept him out of bankruptcy. He had just made the deal with QVC and it wasn't working. And we went out to QVC with a new way of doing business, which was, we'll bring brands like Isaac to you, we'll design it, we'll manage the talent. You don't have to deal with this anymore. We'll style, we'll merch, we'll produce the shows. You can have the entire vertical margin. Put it in your private label group. You bring the inventory in, just pay us 10% of retail for what we do. That's our model with them. That's why you can look at our revenue, you're seeing that 10% that we're taking off the top, but we have no risk. So then C. Wonder, if you're not familiar with this brand, this was started by Chris Birch, Tory Burch's husband, immediately after they broke up. This was supposed to be Tory at a price. And then they started that massive litigation, and I think Chris just got tired. So we bought it from him, and we needed an S, and we needed a C for this. So I tried getting Camila Cabello, 10 million per year. Well, that wasn't going to work. So Christian's name came up, and we went out to see Christian. We said we want to really launch this in a big way on HSN and in other retailers, and would you be interested? And he looked at the fashion point of view of C. Wonder and got excited about it because it was, in many ways, for him, a license to do something different than what he normally does. And he's been great. Longaberger is a home products company. If you don't know this company, it's a fascinating story. The Longaberger family started manufacturing maple wood agricultural baskets in 1896. And one of the Longabergers in the early 70s came up with this idea to start a direct sales company, a multi-level marketing company, selling beautifully crafted collectible baskets. Well, why would you think there would be demand for that? At their height, they were doing 1.2 billion per year with 150,000 saleswomen. It became this cult thing because Dave Longaberger died early, unexpectedly. His daughter took over the business, and their sales dropped down to 390 million in 2006. And I got a call from a very senior guy at GMAC and said, I need you to get in a plane, go to Dresden, Ohio, look at this basket company and tell me if the wheels are coming off. So I go out there and they invite me to this thing called the B. 38,000 women were in a stadium and they were doing this pep rally. So I'm looking at this and all I could think of is, holy cow, this is unbelievable engagement. That's all I could think about. This is crazy. And they built Disneyland for adult women. They built a 280,000 square foot giant basket. You should go Google this thing, with golf courses and hotels and a village as a destination for these people to come to. And I was fascinated. I met Tammy Longaberger, and we hit it off, and she said, you know what, I know you were sent by the bank, but would you sit on the board? And I joined their board, and I was on the board from 06, 7, 8, Seth. We were trying to analyze when would the wheels come off this thing, and we had the number. When they hit like 290 million, it was over. I rotated off. Tammy sold the company to private equity in 11. And in 2019, we bought this icon for $300,000 out of a Chapter 7. They burned it to the ground.
Wow.
They sold all the assets off, all the land, all of Dave's work. But there was a silver lining in that cloud because direct sales is the original version of social commerce. That was the analog version of social commerce. So we said, we're going to buy this to learn. So we went out to all these people that were doing it before, and we brought them all in, and we put them on that first generation of tech that we built with, the company was Indy. Neil Grover was the founder. It was affiliate software. And we started generating numbers where we would create something called a static show. A static show is a time and a date certain. So every Monday night, 8 p.m., we would go live with Rachel Longaberger. We started doing 3,500 per minute on some of the shows. Conversion rates of 20% of the people we invited. And return rates below 10%, because it was sort of like we were scaling word of mouth. So we said, okay, this is the way this business should be today. And the challenge that all these direct sales companies have now, because they had that multi-level compensation structure, they can't unwind it. They can't pivot. So they're stuck. You have to almost shut it all down and start over to do the digital version of this, and there's no reason to do it in layers. But we learned a lot by listening to those ladies, because they told us what kind of dashboards they wanted the tech to have, what they wanted to know about who was buying when, the whole back-end reporting of this thing. And we took everything we learned. Now, Longaberger, we outsourced the e-commerce to an e-commerce management company. We don't want to be in that business. We want to connect people to people that are in that business. So that's Longaberger. We just formed a joint venture with Christie Brinkley. Christie has never given anyone rights to all categories. We have everything: beauty, skin, apparel, home. She saw ORME and said, wow, this is it. She's agreed to go on HSN as well, and this launches in May. I think Christie has more potential than Christian. Because if you talk to any millennial or any Gen Xer or any boomer and ask them to name 5 top fashion models, Christie's coming up in the top 3. Everyone knows her, everyone likes her, and everyone trusts her. And we're really excited about this. So that's the core business, guys. And the goal for next year is to get top-line royalties to around 17, 18 million and generate 5 million of EBITDA and grow from there, core. The interesting thing about this business and being in people now today with people like Christie and Christian and 2 that we have in the pipeline with ORME, we can really accelerate sales. But we don't want to be in that inventory business, in the customer journey business that e-commerce is today. We want it to be the switch that connects shoppers, people, and influencers to the commerce engine, which is e-commerce. And that's what ORME is. So with that, I'm going to pivot into ORME because this is the catalyst for us.
Beautiful.
So we're going to start with a promotional video that, we are in the video commerce business. So part of the marketing strategy with ORME is we're going to be pushing a lot of videos about what is ORME, how much fun is it. So we have one that is a user video that we just put together. We love this actress. She did a great job for us. And this says it all. This is what it is.
Introducing ORME, the video commerce platform where every user is an influencer. With ORME, you get paid for sharing. No purchase required. Share videos from the marketplace across all social platforms and monetize on every sale. That more tracks your earnings. That can be withdrawn directly into your bank account. The more you share, the more you generate. Join our thriving community of users only on ORME. Download the ORME app now to get started.
That says it all. So who do we want to pay here? There's 2 types of people that are winning in social media today. It's influencers, and it's more about influencers that are making great content. Because crazy things are happening. Some people just make stuff by accident. We're making a deal now with this Latino woman. It's the craziest thing. She's a housewife that started making videos and putting them on TikTok. She has 4 million followers today. My 28-year-old son, who is a foodie, I said, check this out, because I sent him to DreamWorks to work at Awesomeness TV when he was a freshman. And he said, I'm making those tacos. He said, this woman's outrageous. So we're doing something with her. And there's no real platform for people like that where they are recognized the way songwriters are recognized for creating content. So here's what we did with ORME. We said we want to make the everyday shopper, every single person in this room that's passionate about a product, if they want to make a video or use a video that's up on ORME and share it with a friend and their friend buys, they get paid 6%. But the creators, how are we going to get them? And how are we going to present a value proposition to influencers where their fees are not capped? Because think about it, an influencer today, the way it works. There's an agent. They try to pitch those influencers to brands, and you write a check, $5,000, $10,000. You sell $20 million of product, that influencer only got that check. Well, we said, why not create an environment where if someone creates content, we recognize them as the writer or the creator of that content. And if someone else uses that content, let's pay them a 2% override. So we'll let the person, so if Seth makes content, you take it, you share it with someone over here, they buy, you get 6, he gets 2.
I'm in. That's cool.
So we want creators to learn with us. They're not capping their upside, and they don't need an agent. All they have to do is go download the app and get going. So that's the influencer shopper side of this. So what is it for brands? So here's what's happening now, guys, and I just need to walk a little bit. So e-commerce, since the change in the privacy rules, has become very challenging. The concept of lifetime value in e-commerce doesn't exist anymore because you can't follow your customers around the internet anymore. Return on ad spend is incredibly low because conversion rates in affiliate marketing are less than 1% today. No one wants to click on a static image or a banner ad. We're done. We're all fatigued with that. Influencer marketing has a 3% conversion rate. Also, not a very good return on ad spend. And digital marketing, we're smart guys, and we had a lot of really smart people working when we had our e-commerce businesses in-house. It's almost like a battle against Google and Facebook every day. To some extent, they take your money and they decide how they want to deploy it for marketing. Algorithms. It's crazy. So e-commerce businesses are very stressed at the moment because of this. That conversation at that party that I went to in the Hamptons with my tech partner was over this, because he told me his daughter operates a company for him here in the US called DL 1961. If you don't know this denim company, it's sold in Neiman's and all the premium stores. Fantastic product. They own Warp and Weft, which is a better price point. He said, Bob, I'm hosting this party. My daughter invited all these influencers. We just paid this woman over here $250,000 to be here. We haven't sold anything. This is just dumb. We need to fix this. So that's how the whole conversation started. And I got him to say, okay, you tell me what to do. We flipped the model. Because the way marketing works, particularly in the digital world today, it's pay to play. Mm-hmm. We flipped the model to a performance-based model. So for vendors coming onto ORME, integration is free, because when we built it, we said just let's have everything set up so it's less than a 1-hour integration onto Shopify, Magento, Salesforce, or even legacy systems. We built something called a VCOM that sits between old legacy technology, as long as we can get an API, and if we have to build the API, we'll build it. Because it sounds crazy. You go to some of these major retailers and you can't go in through an API. They're still using EDI. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's the way things are today. So integration is absolutely free, and you don't pay anything for marketing until there's a sale. So what does that mean? The ROAS problem, based on the economics in ORME, here's the economics. ORME takes a 25% market marketplace fee. We pay the credit card processing and we pay Stripe. Because most vendors today need their money fast. Most marketplaces pay after the return period. It's 45 days. We pay in 48 hours through Stripe. Stripe deals with that return risk with the vendor. So we're out of that whole loop. We didn't want anything to do with that.
That's cool.
We pay the influencer and the creator. So let's say average 7. Net cost to the brand is 15 points because they're using influencers now and they're paying credit card processing fees. That creates a constant 5x ROAS if you're not paying until there's a sale. So that fixes the problem for every vendor. But when we were building this thing, I went out and talked to a lot of CEOs about their concerns about user-generated content. And one of the people who we spoke with is a friend, and she was a competitor, because when I started at QVC, HSN was a competitor, Mindy Grossman. So Mindy said, Bob, unless you figure out how to protect brands from crazy user-generated content, no one's coming on. None of the better brands. Yeah, you may get all these Shopify guys, but you're never going to get any of the PVH brands or Colaris's brands like Sam Edelman, the better American aspirational brands. So we were about a year into tech development, and I said, guys, we need to figure this out. And the answer was, there's no way to do it. And they said, there will be. It's coming. You get ready. We will be able to buy AI time. Just get ready. Just figure it out. This is what it needs to do. Figure out the algorithms, build everything, and we'll build into it. So we built a content filter. One of our AI engines looks for speech and image. We have 30 characteristics built into that AI engine. And obvious things are hate speech, nudity, any conversation around weapons, we're going to knock it out. And there's nothing political about that. We just don't think it belongs in commerce. So we built this content filter. That's one of our AI engines. That was the hardest one for us to build. And we had some funny things that came out of it, because when we were setting the parameters, my partner called me and said, okay, we want to get your input here. What do you think about nudity? Like, what will we tolerate? So I said, okay, let's set it at 20% and see what we get. So we're in the jewelry business. So we run an ad through, and that's the image. The machines read it as 100% nudity. So AI is not a perfect thing, guys. It takes time for it to learn. That's why you get some crazy answers out of ChatGPT. And the longer these things go on, the smarter they will become. So for vendors, this solves a huge problem that we're all dealing with at the moment. I have not talked to one single vendor that said, well, this does not make sense. It's quite the opposite. They all say, wow, this is really good. Some of the bigger players, like one of the companies I'm just relentlessly pursuing is Abercrombie. And why do I want Abercrombie? Because they're cool again. Mm-hmm. It's really hot. And as someone that spent a lot of time in media, think about nightclubs. Everyone wants to get in the club that no one can get in. Everyone wants to go to the country club that no one can get in. Well, it's sort of the same thing when you're starting in something like this. So we're trying to get those really, really good brands. And some of the bigger ones are saying, we like it, we're here, get more users on. Mm-hmm. So, there are some that are just going to come on and do it because we're so close to them. Like Sam Edelman is a close personal friend. He'll do it. So going to the next slide on ORME, what is it for investors? it comes with a management team that knows a lot about content creation and what the calls to action should be. And you can do in 30 seconds and 60 seconds what we do in a 30-minute to 60-minute show on QVC. So what are examples of those calls to action? QVC, they're brilliant, and they have these little inventory counters with different colors in your size, if it's something that is size-driven. And it's a call to action, because while the host and the guest are selling, they're telling you there are no more smalls left, and we're running low on mediums, or this color's down. And the whole thing, it's live, but it's choreographed. Like when we started with Isaac, it wasn't working because Isaac was trying to sell. And we had to tell him, stop selling. That's what the QVC host is for. You have to sell the dream. What inspired you? Tell the stories. And he wasn't really doing that at the time. And when we look for talent, that's what we look for. We look for people who can tell those stories, because we know the QVC host is the closer. They're trained to do that. So we know how to make content that works. We will be a leading applier of AI with ORME. ORME has 4 AI engines. There may be a 5th, and we'll get to what those engines are. We think it has unicorn-like potential. And we say that because the margins in the business are very high. One of the challenges that legacy media companies have is their variable cost to create content increases with distribution and the use of talent. ORME relies totally on user-generated content. There's very low variable cost in creating content on this platform for us and for brands. Now we're advising brands start, and you guys can go on to ORME Live on the App Store, and you can see we're onboarding now some third-party brands and our brands. Well, Ken Downing spent his entire day today creating the pilot content for the way Halston has to look on ORME. And I told Ken, now go get all your cool friends and get them started, then start the email campaign, because Halston has 60,000 customers. And we know 3% will opt in and try this. But we have to start it. We have to show them.
So as we're like winding down over the next like 10 minutes, like before we get there, like when do you guys plan on doing an actual rollout for this?
So it is actually live now,
Okay.
but we're doing it soft.
Okay.
You learn as you go. We realized after speaking to people who are doing, we have 1,000 users on in 1 week.
Wow.
It's been up for a week. Getting a SKU, we could make it easier because we got feedback and we made it easy now.
Very good.
So going to the next slide. This was very forward thinking until about 2 weeks ago, because Musk did his first chip implant. And we built this tech to be ready for this. There's no legacy tech in this tech stack. We didn't buy anything. Everything was built with the best coders and engineers. It's one end-to-end ecosystem. Attribution in this technology is not done through cookies or anything that was used before. We do it through the cell phone number. The only information we need when someone comes on the app is just give us your phone number. We know where you are all the time. And that's how we created attribution. So what is the content, what does this tech do in lay terms? It's a place where shoppers, brands, and retailers can create shoppable content. Shoppers make purchases in-app through a 3-click checkout. Nothing in ORME takes more than 3 clicks. That was rule number 1 when we started. Influencers and shoppers share videos and earn. it's a performance-based payout. And it's performance-based cost for brands. No more vague ROAS reports. It's a constant 5x ROAS. And we found a way to boost content 100x. Because something that happens with content and it creates incredible cost for brands is a brand creates content, they put it out on social channels. If it doesn't go viral, the algorithms push it down by the end of the day. We said, we have to stop that. We said, let's not only give these people a chance to make a video and share it, let's create a digital store for them where they can take all of their content and they can take other content that they like and direct people to their digital store to shop from those videos. That's a content preserver. But there's a problem with that. Knowing the video commerce business. What are one of the calls to action? Limited runs. Today's special value. It's here today, gone tomorrow. So we had to solve for that. So we had to build a recommendation engine that recommends similar product if someone clicks on something that's sold out. So that was something that we had to solve. What are the 4 engines? There's a recommendation engine for content. So when you download the app, you can tell us what you're interested in. What you're interested in may not be actually what you watch. Your behavior may be different. This recommendation engine, when you open the ORME app, it opens by feeding you content. It's like TikTok. But when you open it, it's not going to be what I see. It's going to be based on your own preferences and your own behavior. So we took lessons from YouTube and from TikTok. Because I'm a YouTuber. I'm one of those guys that gets on something, I like it, I share it with my kids and my friends, and that's where this kind of thinking came from. So there's 2 recommendation engines, product and content. And then we built a style chat bot. Think of Chat GPT for style. I'm going to a restaurant in LA named XYZ, what should I wear? So this will give you a response. Where we're going with this is when we have enough brands on and we're tied into everyone's inventory in real time, this is going to serve up product. Mm-hmm. It's a personal shopper, a virtual personal shopper. And then the content filter.
Connor, you could use that now.
Thanks, bro.
I'm just playing.
Size of the market. We started with that video by TikTok. It's expected to be 35 billion here in the US this year. Half of that is television. Half of it are players that are experimenting. It's already reached 700 billion in the East. The challenge is while influencer marketing and affiliate marketing are in fact growing, when you go and look at conversion rates, let's skip all this AI stuff. I'll talk about AI and the implications here. Here are your conversion rates. These are McKinsey's numbers. Our own US testing is we got as high as 20%, but that was in the longer burger community. I'll conclude ORME by talking about the ORME economics. We looked at this and said, we know based on our testing in longer burger, when we do an email campaign introducing people to this, 2 to 3% opt-in. And we know conversion rates where they should be based on what McKinsey is saying and what we learned. We took a conservative approach in modeling the ORME financial projections for the first 5 years with the ORME guys. We own 30% of this. The tech company owns 70% of it. We have the rights inside of XCEL to form a second marketplace if we want, where it flips. We own 70 of that, they own 30. And that's how we did it. We made an assumption that we would roll out at the rate that Netflix rolled out. They went from 0 to 1 million users in 3 years. We said, let's assume that. Because if you start running numbers and say, well, you know, if we start with 20 brands that have 10 million customers, we email all of them, 300,000 people come on, they share with 10 people each, we're going to be at 3 million people overnight. That would be great if it happens. But we didn't make that assumption. We just said, let's get to 1.2 million in 3 years and see what the numbers look like. By the 4th year, ORME should be at 85 million of EBITDA. It is a unicorn if it works and people embrace this in the West. It is the most sophisticated piece of technology that's going to hit this sector ever. And no one has thought of doing a pure short-form video commerce marketplace. For every Shopify vendor, this is a godsend to them. And for bigger brands, if they choose to embrace it, it's a whole new way to drive e-commerce business and actually engage their customers. And if they have stores, engage their salespeople. Because those salespeople will be the best content generators. They know the product. So that's our story. And we appreciate you guys giving us the time to come out here and present.
Thank you very much. So before we break up a little bit, two things. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to ask a couple of questions, just a couple, and then I'll have Dave. Is there something you wanted to say too after those questions are done?
I'll make a closing statement.
Nice. All right. So does anyone have any questions for these guys?
I'm curious about. I know this is far afield, but you've got such a vision for what's going on in the marketplace. What would happen for people who are trying to sell services instead of goods if we were trying to anticipate the kind of things that you've recognized and reacted to?
So this is a very interesting question. And I will tell you, I have a 28-year-old that is in his last semester at Harvard. And he spent the first 5 years after undergraduate working at Trammell Crow, developing multifamily housing. And he's fascinated. He's the kid that I sent to DreamWorks when he was a freshman. He said, Dad, I love this tech. How can I apply this to real estate? What can I do with this? And I said to him, you're the Harvard student. Figure it out. You know, what we know. But I have thought about what would the application be for professional services. So I have a very good friend who he's been begging me to get him on QVC. He's a plastic surgeon, and he plays around with skincare. And I keep telling him, Stephen, you're making $22 million per year. Why the hell would you want to go down to Westchester, PA and sell skincare products? He just is fascinated and he wants to do it. But imagine if we put him on a platform like this that is for doctors. And a doctor could actually talk about what he does and find people that are willing to maybe recommend that doctor. Now, it gets into a whole ethical conversation and in the medical business, but I think that those kind of niches are going to come up. Someone's going to look at this and say, you know what, maybe we can do this for apartment rentals. Then you have a licensing issue. But I did get an interesting call from a tech company that heard about this. The company is Dutchy. And does anyone here know what Dutchy is? So Dutchy is the tech company that supports the cannabis industry. All of those dispensaries, their technology all goes through Dutchy. I didn't know about this because they called us. And they said, we're not allowed to advertise. We want this tech. Will you license it to us? So that started a whole different conversation, because one of the things in our content filter, any conversation around drugs, alcohol, we're just shutting that down. So we'll never do that. Would KB, the tech company, license it to them? Maybe. So there are a lot of industries looking at this, and I do think that there will be applications of this kind of technology in the professions.
We have one more question right here.
Is there any, plans to reach out to influencers that already have a following?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get to the CEO of CAA, because they have a big influencer management business. An old friend of mine was at CAA many years, and he just moved back from LA to New York, and I told him, if you really want to start making money, I'll give you a rev share. I want all their influencers. Challenge with the agents, because I've been dealing with them for years, is if we put their influencers on this platform, what do they need the agent for?
Right.
So ORME, as a private company, will do its own Series A. The only capital ORME will need going forward, the tech is built, the seed round is in. We put that in with KB. They need marketing money. So the plan is start the flywheel where we have relationships with brands. The only requirement brands have is for the first 6 weeks, 2 times per week, they have to email their customers in their email database, introducing them to ORME. That's the only requirement. Get that flywheel started, then go do a Series A there and put the money into marketing. And app distribution, there's traditional marketing and there's digital marketing for that. But most of it will happen as that flywheel turns. People are going to keep distributing, and we're seeing it already. The word is out in the fashion industry that this thing's coming, because I got a call from a consulting firm today. The CEO of that company is someone I have an enormous amount of respect for. He's one of the best in the business. If you're having any kind of issues with technology or back office management, warehousing, distribution, whatever, these guys are the best in the business. He called me, said, I'm calling about the tech because I want to get on a rev share with you, because all of my clients, I'll put them on. So it's going to scale organically, and then it's going to scale through marketing.
Very
That's the
good.
plan.
Thank you again, man. Thank you. Let me welcome Dave. Go ahead and come up here. Nice to see you, man.
So thank you so much, Matt. This is the best one in the world right here. It's went so well. Great interview. Thank you. And thank you for having XCEL Brands. I just want to say, this stock today is a 20 million market cap. It should be 100 million market cap today. This is a company that's at a major inflection point, and it's right where you want to buy it. It's trading at about $1 or 20 million market cap. This is where you want to buy the stock. I think I was here, what, a year? How long ago was I here with Lantern Pharma?
So that's 8 months ago, 7, 8 months ago.
Right, so 8 months we bought a client in Lantern Pharma, and stock was about $4, $4.50. When we gave it to you, it's today at $6.75. It's up 60%. This company, I'm honored to just know Bob. Bob's an incredible man, incredible career. I think he's going to be one of RedChip's biggest home runs this year. We've represented some big brands like Celsius and other Perfumania when they were small, but you can see what he has. I just want to encourage you, don't just listen, go act, go go buy stock tomorrow, right down here, this is the cheapest. I think you'll get the stock right in this range. So thank you so much, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a real pleasure, man.
Good.